Good morning, everyone. Welcome to History 104 News. I am your host, Brooklyn Macklin. Tonight's cover story is on the history of Ugandan independence and genocide. Uganda, a country in East Africa, gained their independence relatively recently. Previously a British protectorate, Uganda was ruled by the British for nearly 70 years. Initially, Uganda was 4 separate kingdoms that the British combined to form a single unit. The kingdoms of Buganda, Ankole, Toro, and Bunyoro were all given the singular name, the Uganda Protectorate, in 1896. However, each kingdom fought for their autonomy, and eventually Britain agreed that the Kabaka, or the king, can retain the authority of his kingdom, and the authority of the King's Council is recognized as well. This agreement gave the Kingdom of Buganda a major upper hand in influence, as it was the strongest kingdom of the 4 in Uganda. In 1962, Britain granted Uganda full international self-government, and Milton Obote, a Ugandan politician and founder of the Uganda People's Congress, negotiated the terms of a constitution for the complete independence of the country. Uganda officially claimed their independence on October 5, 1962. While Obote's Uganda People's Congress had their base political campaign in opposing the Bugandan hegemony, negotiations were made to bring agreement to the 4 kingdoms. Milton Obote was elected as Uganda's prime minister, while Kabaka Mutesa II, the king of Buganda, was elected as Uganda's first president. These negotiations, however, did not rid the kingdoms or Obote of their animosity towards the kingdom of Buganda and King Mutesa. At the start of Ugandan independence is when Apollo Milton Obote slowly had his rise to power. When Obote became Prime Minister of Uganda, he sent Idi Amin, an army commander, and a troop to attack Mutesa's palace. This sudden attack ultimately caused Mutesa to flee in exile in Britain, instilling Obote as president in 1967. As President Obote set in a new constitution that abolished all kingdoms and set an executive presidency over the country. Obote terrorized his opposition using his secret police, the General Service Unit. Obote outlined his economic policy, which was heavily influenced by socialism, in a series of pamphlets titled The Common Man's Charter. In 1971, Obote was overthrown by a coup led by Idi Amin, the officer from before, and was exiled in Tanzania, though this did not stop him. Obote spent 8 years gaining political power in Tanzania. He returned to Uganda in 1979 with both Tanzanian and exiled Ugandan forces to overthrow Idi Amin. In 1980, Obote ran for and won elections with his reformed United People's Congress, leading to guerrilla warfare from his opposition. In 1983, Obote launched Operation Bonanza, a military expedition responsible for claiming the lives of tens of thousands of people. On guerrilla warfare from his opposing military groups and his strict policies, it has been estimated that approximately 100,000 to 500,000 people died during the presidency of the power-hungry Milton Obote. Although, in between Obote's 2 periods as president was Idi Amin's reign of terror, a time of mass genocide and suffering that lasted 8 years. I'll pass it over to Darren to go into detail about this tragic event.
Thank you, Brooklyn. Idi Amin, better known as the Butcher of Uganda, was a brutal, violent, and cannibalistic leader. Amin was once the commander of Uganda's army and served under their former president Milton Obote until 1971, when he successfully overthrew Obote and declared himself president. While under Amin's rule, Uganda was plunged into its bloodiest point in modern history. From 1971 to 1979, the people of Uganda were forced to endure his cruel, sadistic reign of terror, which led to the death of almost 500,000 people. Within the first few months of Amin's reign, he had already begun to purge the country of those he saw as enemies. This included members of ethnic groups, political groups, religious leaders, students, artists, soldiers, and many others who were simply killed based off suspicion. Amin wanted his reign unopposed and unquestioned. Those with ties and loyalty to the former president needed to be eradicated. The Prime Minister, the Chief of Justice, the Angelic Archbishop, prominent playwrights, and 2 of Amin's own cabinet members are just a few of those Amin saw as potential threats and had silenced. Amin saw all members of the Chuli and Longo ethnic groups as a threat, as they were allies to the former president Obote. In July of 1971, 2/3 of the 9,000 soldiers in the Jajan and Mubarak barracks were massacred for being of the Longo and Acholi ethnic groups. And by 1972, almost 10,000 citizens of the same ethnic group had disappeared. The killing of innocent civilians, ethnic groups, and political enemies continued unchecked throughout Amin's 8 years of control. Although Amin is well known for his bloodshed and violence, he should also be known for causing the downfall of Uganda's economy. In August of 1972, Idi Amin declared the expulsion of all Asians from Uganda and stole their property, accusing them of disloyalty and commercial malpractice. Of course, this was nothing more than a cover-up of his desires to persecute and remove minorities from power in Uganda. In the end, Idi Amin's reign unsurprisingly came from rebellion within Uganda. Although there have been many attempted coups throughout Amin's reign over Uganda, the final and successful coup was led by the Tanzanian army. They captured the capital, forcing Amin to flee. For 8 years, Idi Amin subjected the people of Uganda to a living hell, filled with suffering, fear, and torment. Even though faced with this adversity, the people of Uganda remained strong and persevered. I will now pass it over to Jonathan to talk about how they are recovering from this point.
It's been over 4 decades since the reign of terror of Uganda's former president, Idi Amin. During his 8-year rule, Amin was responsible for the deaths of over 300,000 people and caused the displacement of many more. His brutal regime instilled fear and uncertainty in the hearts of Ugandans, and the trauma of those years still lingers. But despite the horrors of the past, Uganda has been working to heal the wounds and move forward. One such initiative is the creation of the International Crime Division, a special court established in 2008 to try those accused of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide during Amin's regime. This court provides a measure of justice for the victims and helps to bring perpetrators to account for their actions. In addition, various community-based initiatives have been established to promote healing and reconciliation. The Uganda National NGO Forum, for example, has created a program to encourage local communities in reconciliation efforts, including the establishment of peace committees that bring together representatives from the different ethnic groups. Another significant step towards healing is the government's establishment of a victim fund, which provides financial compensation to those who suffered losses during Amin's regime. This fund helps to address the economic impact of the atrocities committed during Amin's reign and provides some measure of closure to the survivors. While these efforts are commendable, many survivors continue to struggle with the trauma they experienced during Amin's reign. The Uganda Victims Foundation provides support and counseling services to survivors, helping them come to terms with their experience and rebuild their lives. Despite the progress made towards healing and reconciliation, there are still challenges that remain. The legacy of Amin's rule are complex and far-reaching, affecting not just the survivors, but also the wider society. In many cases, the atrocities committed during the regime have led to long-standing and socio-economic inequalities, which continue to affect people's lives today. The road to recovery is long, but Uganda has shown remarkable resilience in the face of adversity. Through the collective efforts of survivors, civil society organizations, and the government, Uganda is slowly but surely rebuilding its social fabric and working towards a better future for all of its citizens. Looking back, it's hard to believe that such atrocities could happen in their country, but we must never forget the lessons of the past and work towards to build a better future for all Ugandans. Only then can we truly heal the wounds of the past, move forward towards a more peaceful and just society.
Thank you for that, Jonathan. Truly a tragic time for the Ugandan people, but they are managing to pull through. Thank you for listening. This has been History 104 News.